Today we're here with the amazing and fabulous and super animated, funny, passionate Carrie Ryan. And Carrie, I have a feeling you've encountered some fans with your zombie books that just have got to offer some memories about being an author. Do you care to share one or two of these stories with us?
Yeah, I think I mean I do feel really lucky to be writing about zombies because we have really passionate fans. And so I mean I do have a lot of visits where people will show up dressed as zombies. I think my favorite was I did a stop at Schuler Books up in Lansing, who
Uh-huh.
I mean, and there are passionate booksellers at that store too. And one of the booksellers there is really into zombies. So the signing, she turned into a zombie prom. And so all the readers showed up. We had like probably 50 teen readers maybe show up dressed as zombies. And these were not like, slap on a few like dashes of makeup, like the bloody, tattered, wedding dress zombie. And we had one who had stuffed a pillow so she looked like she was pregnant. And
Oh, the pregnant zombie. I love
oh,
that.
I mean, it was amazing. So it was kind of fun because as you're giving your talk and you're talking to them, you're like, talking to a sea of zombies. It was really fun. Like I think, I was really lucky because when I started writing zombies, I mean, literally, I remember when I started writing Forrest saying, no one wants to read about zombies. It was before sort of zombies became popular, and so I've really lucked out that they've become so common. And but even so, like people who love zombies really do love to dress up as zombies. It's a fun, it's fun to go to events and see people who will just go all out and dress up. And what I loved is it was like these teens who were not afraid of like unabashedly being passionate, like they weren't
Uh-huh.
sitting there thinking, oh, well, what if I'm the only one who shows up dressed up? Like they were willing to take that risk, and I loved that. Like I loved that they weren't self-conscious about it at all. It was awesome.
That's great. That's great. So there's, it seems like in the zombie world, there's a kind of a fine line between people who dress up and sort of own it in that way, and other people who are like, no, zombies are real. Do you encounter any of the survivalists and things like that too?
Well, what's funny is at that same signing, there was a reader there who really wanted to get into the debate about zombies being real, and I was like, well, they're not real. And he's like, oh, and he like, I mean, and at the time, like if there was anything zombie, I had read it. I had played the zombie games. I had watched the zombie shows. I mean, in the other room, I have stacks. Like, there's a game called Zombies. There are like 20 games called Zombies. I have them all. I have a remote-controlled zombie. He's controlled with a brain. I have all the zombie stuff. And so, he wanted to get into the specifics of things, and I was like, well, to date, there is no way to come back from the dead. Like you die, there's no coming back. And there actually is a debate. I just actually had this debate with my brother-in-law about zombies because like there's a 28 days later model where it's a sickness. And that, I mean, I feel like could we have a disease that causes something somewhat similar, maybe, but no. And I had someone actually say, like, dead serious, like, do you think zombies are real? And I don't. But just the way that he asked the question, I was like, oh, you poor thing. No, sleep tight. You don't have to worry. Yeah.
So, do you think that your fans believe that you have to believe zombies are real to be an author of the books like the ones you write?
I don't think so. I mean, I think I don't know. I think you just have to be passionate about sort of. I mean, I was going to say zombie culture, but that's not right. I mean, I think I write sort of with authenticity. Like the reason I wrote about zombies is because I was the person who would like when I was bored daydream how would I escape from this house. Like the house I live in now, totally screwed. We're not surviving the zombie apocalypse. But so I come at zombies as someone who loved the movies and the books and the games and I think zombies too, like, you have the CDC that recently put out, or maybe a year or two ago, like a how to survive the zombie apocalypse thing.
They put it out, really?
Oh yeah, from the CDC. And what it really is it's a way of talking about like emergency preparedness without having to be really scary about it. Because,
Uh-huh.
sitting there saying like, oh, well, what would we do if the zombie apocalypse happened? Where would we go? How would we survive? Is much easier to talk about than like, what would we do if there was a terrorist attack on our city? Because we live in the second
Oh,
largest banking
right.
capital in the country. It's there have been fears. There have been, I remember one time I worked in the Bank of America tower, and there was the bomb squad downstairs at one point. That's not something you want to talk about because it's scary, and you don't want to think about the possibility of it. But you can sort of have the same discussion by saying, well, what if they were zombies? So I think the CDC was using it as a way of getting those conversations going.